Hello, designers and developers. We're doing another form. We actually completed a form in the Cat app before. Now we're using forms to collect information from people who visit our webpage. This is in direct correspondence with the survey form that we're going to create for our own certification and final project, the assessment. So, in this course, we're going to learn HTML forms. We're going to build a sign-up page. We'll learn how to control what types of data people can type into the form and some new CSS tools for styling the page. Let's start the project. This is what we're going to be making. Cool, simple, love it. When you make your own registration form, I want you to use all of the awesome things that you have learned and make it real cool. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing that we always do. We're going to start with our heading type. Okay, so if I put that here, now you also could copy and paste directly from, VS Code, right? We've done that before. Let's see, let me show you. In Visual Studio, okay, something mixed up here. Okay, so in Visual Studio Code, we've got this, our whole head element that if we were not going through this step by step, then we could kind of jump ahead. And in fact, guys, did you know we could jump ahead a little bit? So let's go back to here real quick and let's actually see. So if I go to number 3, okay, no. Let's try. Oops, what happened? Back up here. Let's try number 7. All right, cool. So right around number 7 or something, like if you don't go through every single step and you get to the place where after you have done this intro tag, I am totally fine with that. Okay, just so you know, there's a little shortcut for jumping ahead. All right, so this is where I'm going to start with. We've done this. We have a body. We've got the H1. And now we're going to have a paragraph element that encourages users to register. Okay, so we always want to let our users know, what are we doing this for? Right? Please register. So apparently they've already completed a call to action saying they did want to register. So now we're telling them how to register. So what's kind of neat, we've got the viewport height. Okay, so a VH unit stands for viewport height. It's relative to 1% of the height of the viewport. What the heck is the viewport? This is the viewport. It's the viewable area. So here's a viewport, here's a viewport. Okay, so now we're going to actually we're going to say, oh, how much of the viewport height do we want this to take up? So first, we're going to spruce it up with some CSS. We're going to begin by giving the body. So open up my selector, my element selector. We're going to do a width of 100% and a height of 100 VH. Now, this is kind of the same as saying 100%, but we're using VH units. VH units are vertical height units. So as we move, like the 100% width is pretty standard, right? We can see that it goes in and out, okay? Now, the vertical height, we can't really see. But if we were to start testing it a little bit, like let me just put a border real quick. A border of 3 pixels around the body. I'm sorry, 3 pixels solid. Blue. There it is. Okay. So here's our border. Now watch what happens if I say that this is a 50. vertical height. So now my viewport only takes up, or like I'm forcing the height of my body to only take up 50% of the viewport, which is 50% of what is viewable. Now, things look a little weird too because I have my browser zoomed in. So there's some different stuff that's a little strange, like the fact that the width of 100% is like scrolly. It's over there. Anyways, so let's keep this scrolled in though. So that's what the VH means. I'm going to make sure to change it back. And you can see all sorts of great discussions if you look up what is vertical height and if it's needed, because it is needed. All right, so we're actually on step 9. I kind of skipped step 8 with you guys. That was giving it the height. We're going to get rid, there it is. We're going to get rid of this horizontal scroll bar. Notice here, the margins are what we're messing it up. So even when I put a border around it, it was kind of screwing it up. So let's do a margin 0. And there we go. Now we have no horizontal scroll bar. There's no reason to have a horizontal scroll bar, and it is not okay in responsive design. It's just not something that we do. Now, we could have horizontal navigating sites, but it's not going to be because of the scroll bar. That's something that you can look up on your own. Let's keep going. All right, so now we're going to make the background easy on the eyes, meaning we're going to chill out the contrast. Did you know that a black and white contrast, pure black and white, is actually like kind of too much contrast? Because too much contrast is a thing. So let's do a background color. Okay, I'm just going to copy this whole thing and then I'm going to fix it once I copy it. So obviously my 2 does not need to be in there. And then I'm going to make sure that I have this. And then I'm going to change the text. Now remember, text is simply just color. Color, not background. Color. Okay, there we go. All right, so I've got my background color, a nice dark. I've got my foreground color, almost white. It's actually not completely white, just so you can tell. And that has a high contrast, but not too high of a contrast. Okay, so now, of course, we gotta make our form. So after the paragraph element, we're gonna start our form. And we're gonna use the action attribute. You know what, let's do this real quick. Let's see, I have it over here. Here it is. Form action. Okay. I'm going to take this whole thing. I'm going to put it over there. We have done a form before up in the cat photo app. Do that. It's obviously doesn't have the ID yet. We are going to have this as the action. So when the form is submitted, it's going to go there. Okay. All right, good. Okay, good to go. So we opened it and closed it. So now the method attribute specifies how to send the form data to the URL specified in the action attribute. So action is where we're sending the data. Method is how. How do we do it? So there's a couple of different ways. You can do a post method, okay, or there's get, okay. So the form data can be sent via a get request and then a post request as data in the request body. So we want to, we actually want to use it as a post, okay. So we're posting the data, you know, just like you're submitting a post in social media or something. Method, oops, equals, quotation marks, post. I could have copied and pasted that as well. Great. Okay, so as the form will have 3 distinct sections, add 3 different field set elements within the form element. Okay, so we did this before. We did this before in CodePen.io. So if you needed to, you could always go to your work and you could see what you did, right? Like the cat photo app over here. Okay. And you could remember, you know, what you did. If you're like, how the heck do I do a form again? You can always go and take a look at it, right? It was all the way down here, this field set. So field sets always have legends, and they're just a way to specify your fields, right? Okay, so field set and the field set. I'm going to copy this. It says we need 3. Okay, boom, done. Let's go. Now we're going to have a name, email, and password. Start by adding 4 label elements, okay? Labels are just like field sets, okay? Label. I mean, they're not just like, they're just opening, closing, okay? Labels are opening and closing. We're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we're right. This, in essence, guys, I wish we would go through the whole process on this one, because we should wireframe this, and that's what we're doing, and we're really framing what our form is going to be. Okay, and so right now we're adding all of the pieces that have to be in our form. Okay, now we're going to have text to the label element. So for that, we just put it inside the label. Okay, enter your first name. Enter your last name. Enter your email. And create a new password. Okay, there we go. Notice, like, they're not, oops, what did I do wrong? Oops, I should say last name, my bad. Okay, there we go. Okay, the REM unit stands for root, EM, and it's relative to the font size of the HTML element. So basically, it's relative to whatever the container is. Okay, so I think of it as container, it's the HTML element, so whatever's inside there. If you have like a, you know, let's say it's 18-point font for the container, and then you give it a relative, it's going to be like this one would be half of the initial, you know, with the standard font sizes that's defined. Very interesting. Labels are inline by default, so they're all displayed side by side, and that makes obviously hard to read, like that looks ridiculous. So to make them all appear on separate lines, we're going to add a display block to the label element. Okay, so now we're in CSS. Okay, so now we're doing our styling here, and it's an element, so I start with a label, open up my element selector, and I want display block, and I want margin of 0.5 rem and 0. So guys, I just want to tell you this, the 0.5 rem and the 0. So remember that if there's only 2 values in margin, the first value is top and bottom, and the second value is 0. That's why you'll notice here, okay, these labels don't have any margins. Standard, oh, you know, there's like its own sort of margin, but then it's got that 0.5 on all sides. Oh, the field set has its own margin. My bad. Okay, I see. It has its own padding for the stuff inside. That's why there's still space over here on the left and right, even though we just told it to have no space. Next, an input element. So now we're going to have input right inside. We're going to have it after, okay, the label and include a space. So now input is self-enclosing. Okay. So So we'll just copy this guy. And we're not doing anything else. We're not adding the name, the type, or anything like that. We're just throwing all these in there. Oops, I didn't do it. Okay, just kidding. Space, space, space. Okay, don't forget your spaces. That actually, there's a reason for that. It just adds a little extra readability. So accessibility best practices. Now we're going to link the input elements and the label elements together using the for. So now it's like label for first name. Okay. And then the ID is the input, right? So we've got, now they put the input as a self-enclosing tag with a /, and that's best practice, but it's not actually necessary. So just so you know. So now let's do ID equals. It's always the input gets the ID and the label gets the for, because it's like the label for the ID input. Does that kind of make sense? Like in a sentence, that's how it sounds to me. So this one is going to be first name. And then this is for equals first name. Okay, I want to make sure that I'm got this right. ID, yes, label, 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 label. This label doesn't have it, but I'm pretty sure that is. For, yeah. I don't know why I needed to double check that, but you know what? Double checking is not a bad idea. It's a good way of learning stuff. Okay, so now I'm going to do ID of last name. I'm going to copy this, put it in here, and then give it some quotation marks. Doing this backwards, ID equals. And then I'll just copy this. That makes sense. Copy that, put it over here, change ID to for. Cool. And then, let's see, let's keep going. ID equals, change last name. That's funny. I know, maybe it's annoying that I change the way I copy and paste every time. That's what I do though, so, oh well. That's like every time I do code, I kind of think, oh, well, maybe it'd be more effective or efficient if I did it this way this time. So often I will change midstream, mid-thought. It can be kind of annoying, I'm sure. All right, there we go. Finally, put that in for new password. Make sure we got it. Yay. Great. Enter. Okay, great. So we have to have the type too, right? Well, you know, first name, last name, type is text, and then you got email. It's different. So, and password is also different. Okay. The password type obscures the input and warns if the site does not use HTTPS. Okay, so that's kind of a security function, password type. So the input, okay, of course, we have type equals text, right? Oops, type equals text. We've got type equals text here. Now we've got type equals email and type equals password. Sorry. Oops. Okay. There we go. So far, nothing, you know, you don't see anything yet. Doesn't do anything. I mean, like it doesn't change the way anything looks. Now we have to have a value, of course. So the first input element with the type of submit is automatically set to submit its nearest parent form element. Okay. To handle the form submission after the last field set element, add an input element with the type attribute set to submit and the value attribute set to submit. So after the last field set. Okay, so the first element, input element with a type of submit, is automatically set to submit its nearest parent form element. So if we have an input of submit, rather than a button, okay, notice that we're gonna do an input type. And that's what you're doing. The input type is submit. So let's see what that looks like in this sense. Type equals submit and value. Look at that. It's the same. Okay. It's the same as a button. But they can be used in different ways. I'll do what it wants me to. Okay, let's make sure. Am I good? No. Okay. Value attribute of submit. Okay, I made it lowercase. They wanted it uppercase. Good. Okay. And so now we should be able to submit the form. Yay! See up here, I submitted it and it says normally this works. Great. At this point, you should be able to, okay, not much happens to make the form more interactive at the required, right? It just let us submit nothing. So we're going to have required attribute to the input elements in the first field set. So the whole thing is going to be required. Okay. You notice we don't have a legend, so there's no like words up here. When we were doing the cat photo app, there was. So all of these input type text, required, and nothing changes, because if you want something to, you know, be known as required, you have to put in your own, okay, you have to put in your own like message or asterisk, whatever. Okay, so that's its own attribute. It's like just required. Okay, there's nothing different about that. Okay, certain type attribute values come with a built-in form validation like email. Okay, and it requires that it's a valid email. So it has the @ symbol and it has like some domain dot whatever. So a custom validation, we can make it so that the input element has a minimum length attribute with a value of 8. So it has to be at least 8 characters. Let's do that over here. So required, let's do it in between. And we're gonna say min length equals, and we just put the number. Great. We can also have pattern, right? Add a pattern attribute to the password input element to require the input to match all of this. So you can have A through Z, 0 through 5, 8. Okay. So the above is a regular expression which matches 8 or more lowercase letters or the digits 0 to 5. Oh, so it's like the whole thing. Okay, so we make a pattern, but it's only like A to Z. Let's do it. Okay. So instead of min length, we're getting rid of it and we're seeing that there is a pattern equals this. Oops. Okay. Okay. So now what? Oh, see, now it gives me these like, please follow this field. And it's going to go through and do that. Okay, let's just keep going for a minute. Check it. Great. Okay, so we're going to do the next one. So right now we have this pattern. So let's just see. So we have J, C. Watch what happens. So it says it works. Okay, so all right. It didn't do the at. What would happen if it was like this? It would say an at, right? And then what if it was at? Okay, let's do this at. Let's try. Ah, see. Please match the requested format. We haven't told them what the requested format is. Have you ever been to a website like that? It's so annoying. Okay, so anyways, just wanted to show you what that is. We're going to do the next one, and we're going to have 3 label elements. Okay, so it would be nice to have like a cheat sheet, right? When we just kind of copy and paste things as we go. Not a bad idea if you make your own. Although, getting used to typing over and over the same thing is not a bad thing either, because it gets you better at typing. If you're a programmer, you're going to type a lot. So users will be able to choose either a personal or business. To do this, within each of the first 2 label elements, add 1 input with a radio type. Okay, so input type equals radio. Okay. Remember how we do that? Okay, cool. And then within each of the first 2. Okay, this one and this one. No, they haven't told us to do the text yet. Okay, keep going. So now we're going to have the third one with a checkbox. Third one, type checkbox. Okay. All right, so it's going to be the terms and conditions. Do you accept the terms and conditions? So a checkbox, right? Make this input element required because they shouldn't sign up before reading. Okay, so input type required. There we go. All right, and so now then the labels, we're going to put this, and we're doing this immediately after the input. Add a space, do personal account. So after the input, space, okay, personal account, business account, and I accept the terms and conditions. Perfect. Okay, we're moving right along. It's working out. Oops. Okay, great. Sorry. Okay, I only want 1 radio input to be selected at a time. However, the form doesn't know that the radio, so like right now, it's like, yeah, personal and business, great, but radio buttons, we have determined in the web community that radio buttons stand for like multiple choice, right? Only 1 input. So we're now going to give them the same name with account type. And that's going to say, oh, these are related. This one, again, it doesn't change the visual, but changes the function. Okay, so now, right, it goes back and forth. Awesome. Follow accessibility best practices by linking the input elements and the label in the second. So remember, we have to make sure that it's for ID and for ID and for. Okay, so we have input type ID equals personal account. And even though we had it uppercase in the actual text, we don't do that in our code because it winds up where we could make all sorts of mistakes later on if we did something like that. And it really is like JavaScript. It's in our more like hardcore programming. This is layout. It's so different. Markup languages, that's what this is called. HTML is, and it's very different than name, account type. Sorry. Okay. So ID. I started talking too much. My bad. Hold on. I'm screwing it up here, guys. Okay, ID. Woo. Okay, ID equals. And there it is. Okay. This is a markup language, and so it doesn't have the same level of it's not like this functions where you do a bunch of coding and then like You know, you can press a button, stuff runs. Although, like, you press buttons and stuff runs in HTML, but it's different. It's this layout, it's this markup. It's telling what the text is going to do on the page. So it's just a little bit different than typical coding. And once you do JavaScript, you'll be like, oh, I see. Or any other programming language. You will understand that. All right, I think that's it. Cool. So to finish it off, we're going to link terms and conditions. Okay, and it's going to go to a certain place. So let's do this. And in the third label, all right, and the whole thing, hold on, where do they want the link? To finish off, link the text terms and conditions. That makes more sense. Okay, so we're going to link the text. That means we're wrapping it in a link. href equals quotation marks, end my quotation marks. Paste in. Okay, where are we at? All right, pasting in. Where is it? Okay, pasting that in. Not sure where my quotation marks went. Oh no, there's extra. End it. Oh geez, you guys, I don't know what I just did there. Hold on. Did something crazy. Okay. Okay. There we go. No, it keeps on disappearing. What? Hold on. What did I do? Did I accidentally, maybe I like, Okay, let's just try this one more time. Copy this. And what I'm trying to do is I accept the terms and conditions. And paste this in there. Okay, I don't know what happened. I obviously had a bunch of other stuff done. Or I had a bunch of other stuff that I selected that messed it up. All right, look at that. Look at our form. Looking good, looking good. Obviously, the only CSS that we've done so far, if we take a look at it, is we changed the body color, given it some width, all that good stuff. And we made it so that at least the labels are going down in a vertical fashion, which makes the most sense. So, of course, we'll do more in a little bit. Let's continue on our finishing up our structure. Okay. The reason why we even added any CSS was just to help us see what the actual structure is, because most of the layout comes from HTML, sort of. That's like the elements of very like the building blocks. But then the CSS tells the elements how to behave, where to go, how to display, that sort of thing. So what if we want them to be able to upload? That's fine. Input type equals upload. Okay. Type equals file. Okay. And we're going to do that little doohickey that they had before. We're going to put a label nest and input into. Okay, so label. If it's into, I actually put the label on the outside. And let's see. Oh, look at that. Choose file. No file chosen. Love it. And then upload a profile picture. And cool. Oh, I feel like I should go the other way. Let's do this. Yeah, that makes more sense. Okay. Okay, so, well, the input type file does that. Add a label, text, nest, and input, accepting a file upload. Boom, done. I think I went about that a little bit differently, so sorry. Okay, so we're going to do another label after this one. And this label is going to have the text input your age, years. It's good, specify. Okay. End my label. And then I'm going to add a minimum attribute to the input, min equals 13. Okay. And close that up. Cool. And then what? Also, they'll probably not be over the age of 120. Probably. Sad. It's sad, but yeah, it's true. 120. Okay, so if somebody tries outside a warning, okay, so let's do submit. Well, we'll have to fill out all that first, right? Oh, it didn't work. Hold on. Okay, wait, Max, did I do something wrong? Obviously, I did something wrong. Hold on. Where's my type? Oh, geez, type. Number, sorry, obviously. Okay, now, let's see. Oh. Submit. No, it has to be less than or equal to 120. Great. Okay, cool. So, moving along. You notice if I didn't do the type right, it's like, I don't understand. Because I didn't say that the type was number, so it didn't care what 555 was. 555 to it was actually a text. That's just the default. So we're going to use the select element, okay, so that we can have a drop down, which is pretty cool. This is all HTML, which is great. It used to be that we had to have JavaScript for this, but now with HTML5, it's kind of got JavaScript already built in. So the select element is a container for a group of option elements, right? So select, then you have options, like an unordered list and an ordered list. The group of elements that are inside like unordered list and ordered list would be list elements. For select, it's option elements. Then they all need closing tags. So we're going to have a select below the two labels. Okay. And we're going to have 5 options. Okay, so we want to select option copy paste all 5, move on. Right, so we have the nested select element with its options within a label. Okay, so nest it within, so we're going to wrap the whole select inside a label. Down to the end, close that sucker up. Oops. There we go. And then the label is, how did you hear about us? My instructor is forcing me to do this. That's how I heard about you. Sorry. I amuse myself. I have to amuse myself as I talk to myself in my office and walk you through these steps. All right, so the drop-down options are currently empty, of course. We're going to add the following text to each subsequent option element. First, FreeCodeCamp news. Where did I hear it from? Where did I hear about this? I think YouTube channel. I might have actually, yeah, that might be it actually. I might have watched a YouTube video and then be like, what? freeCodeCamp, that's amazing. And then other. Oops. I didn't do select one. But that makes sense. You have to have select one as like the default. You have to put the default at the very top. Notice that right now it says freeCodeCamp. So I'm going to change it to select one. I'm going to cut that, paste it up here so that it's at the top. So it's the first one showing. Cool. Okay. So yeah, we need to make sure that the option has a value. So it's not, it would be empty. Okay, so option selected, you're just like, oh, it's empty. This is all text. These are just labels, really, content, and it doesn't actually affect the code of itself. So we have to code it. So they all need values. 1 to 4. Give the first option a value, empty value, because what would happen if they selected that? You don't want it to be anything. You just want it to be empty. Okay. And remember, I talked about this database thing concept, and that's really what's happening here. Is that's 1. So we're assigning values to these, and that's how it's going to show up in the database. Okay, as it writes to the database, the we have like the column will be something like, how did you hear about us? And we'll give it a 19. And then we have the value of, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's going to correspond to these particular text. Okay, so that we can always change the text, but the values, like the essential meaning, is always going to be the same. So like, let's say instead of freeCodeCamp news, I wanted to say newsletter, something like that. I could change it, but it's not changing the values. Whereas if I used the text, then I would be locked down to that text forever. So this just makes it easier. Oops. Okay, here we go. Text area. If we want people to tell us more about this. Or what is it? Oh, add a bio. Do something. The text area element acts like an input. Okay, multi-line input. It's just programmed to act that way. Users can register a bio, add a label with the text area, provide a bio at the end of the field set. Add a text area inside. Note, the text area requires a closing tag. Okay, so after select, we're going to have a new text area. Look at that. Cool. And then notice, if we don't have a closing tag, it thinks that the label, oops, it's not supposed to be in label, my bad. But it does think that this ending tag is a part of its text. So that's how we can definitely know that it needs a label. See, now we know even more, right? Okay. Give it some space. Text area. And there we go. Now the text area is just there. It told me, let's go back up here. Label, provide a bio, text area, inside, label. Okay, great. Let's do that. Label, provide bio, text area, and that label. So we're wrapping the text area in a label, but we're going to want that different, right? Normally when you have like a text area, you have the title of it on top. So we'll probably fix that eventually. Provided bio. Cool. Let's see. Is it satisfied with what I've done? Oops. Yes. Great. Profile picture, age, refer, bio as values. Okay, so the IDs. So all of these now, these are the columns, right, in your data. These are fields in your database that you're putting the stuff into. So profile picture. Okay, we're going to start with that. Let's go over here. Input. This is 4 equals profile picture ID type file ID. Okay, age for age. So we put that on select. Did I do it right? I did. Okay, yeah. So does that make sense that the ID would go on select, not on the individual options, right? Well, first, because you can't have an ID for multiple elements, but it's the whole thing. So the whole field set, right? It's kind of, the whole field is the refer, and the values are these. Great. Keep going. So look at all that code. We are rolling in code. The text area appears too small. Yeah. To give it an initial size, you can add the rows and columns attribute. Again, this is all within HTML. Okay, so when we're using HTML forms, there's a lot of styling that comes in, or coding that comes in that we don't really do with any other HTML elements, and this is a feature of HTML5. So rows and columns, initial size 3 rows, 30 columns. Okay, so we're going to do that in the text area. Rows, we're going to equal 3. Okay, bigger. And calls is going to equal 30. Okay, so I made it wider, a little taller. Okay, and now we're going to have a placeholder. So accepts a text value, of course, which is displayed until the... Okay, so we're going to give a place on the beach. I like coding on the beach. Yes, please. I don't know. I don't know if I would like coding on the beach. I never have, you guys. I never have, so I'm not really sure. All right, placeholder equals... I like coding on the beach. Okay, make sure you don't have extra quotations. Great. Did you see that? I like coding on the beach. Yeah. With pina colada. Okay, now singing to myself. Okay, so it's useful and a good practice to provide each submittable element with a name attribute. This attribute is used to identify the element in the form submission. Okay, right. So we're like, the name is the form submission. Okay, whatever. Each submittable element, a unique name attribute of your choosing, except for the 2 radio inputs. Submittable element. Okay, submittable element. Those are inputs. Okay, so my name now is going to be the same as the ID, y'all, okay? Name equals first name, okay? And then we're going to do the same thing. Label 4. Last. Email. Input. Password. Name equals. Password. We're not doing radios. No, no, no. Checkbox. Yeah. I'm just gonna say terms. I don't need it to be all extra. Input. Let's see. Oh, I'm just kind of, I'm being very lazy in my coding, you guys, because I know that the thing's gonna, did I do it right? I don't feel like I did. No, okay, I'm not done yet. Okay, file, I was just getting blah, blah, blah. Okay, input, name equals, picture, don't need it to be long. Sometimes just calling it the same thing is a good idea. But whatever. Profile picture. Okay. Let's see. Age. Yeah, we need age too. Name equals age. Okay, we did that. Select. Name equals refer. Bio. Text area ID. Okay. Name equals bio. Why would you call the file the name attribute file? Well, I don't know. Whatever. Because you wanted something different than the name. Let's see. With form submissions, it's useful and a good practice to provide each submitted with a name attribute. This attribute is used to identify the element. So I guess it could have been a little more simple. I get it. Okay, cool. Like the only file that you were doing was a profile picture, so you didn't really have to say file, but also could have said picture. The HTML for the registration form is finished. Boom. We can spruce it up a little bit. Let's change the font to Tahoma and the size 16 pixels in the body. Okay. Font family. Tahoma. Ooh, fancy. Okay. And then let's do font size 16 pixels. Great. Nice and big. Remember, it doesn't change the H1. Okay, so because it's just saying, okay, the body is going to be 16 pixels. Basically, anything that has like content, text content that isn't coded by something else. Like, notice how these select, choose files, etc., submit, none of that changed. It's just what the text that we input. Okay. We're going to center H1. Normally, guys, if we don't always want to do a, center. Center the elements, not the actual text, my bad. So we're centering the elements, margin, 1EM, and auto. So 1EM brings it down a little bit, and then the auto puts it in the middle. Now, it doesn't matter. Oops. H1 and P. And align their text as center. Okay. doesn't really do anything because these have like an infinite width. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to center the form element. Form, open it up, give it a margin 0, auto. Okay. And then we're going to fix it size. Max width 500 pixels. Max width is my favorite. See, there we go. It makes it so that things are always going to stay in a nice readable area, right? This is a responsive design feature, the max width. All right, now we're gonna do a min width. So obviously we do not want it to look like this. So we're gonna say, okay, you have to have a min width 2, min width. Then if it goes beyond that min width, then you're gonna have a horizontal scroll, which we don't like, but you know what? You gotta do what you gotta do. See how the horizontal scroll comes up after this? Yeah. Okay, good. But that makes sense. If they were on like a super tiny screen, it's just gonna happen. In between that range, allow it to have a width of 60. Okay. In between that range. All right, let's see. In between that range. I feel like I'm about to miss something. Width 60 VW. Okay, that looks stupid. Yeah, oh, that's weird. Look at this. Ugh. Okay. So that's weird because you're like, what do you mean within that range? So here's the default. 60 vertical width, 60% of the viewable window. But we don't want it to be any less than, more than 500 or any less than 300. There's not a specific way that we say that. We just say this is our desired, and these are the max based on the viewport, right? The viewport gets really big. Well, then 60% is a lot bigger than when the viewport is small. Okay. All right. Let's go. So usually we want to have, like, during development, we want to see the field set. But it can make it look like it's two different things. So we're going to remove the border and the 2 rem of padding. So we're going to do that from the field set. So don't we have a field set? No. Okay. So let's open up our field set, element selector, and we're going to say border is none. There we go. And then, okay, padding, top and bottom. So 2 rem 0. Okay. And then remove the padding. Okay, done. Got it. Okay. So we remove the padding. We got the border none. Notice that. Yeah. So easy beefy. And that's because it's a default. So a field set has a default with a border, so we have to take it away by saying border none. This will happen a lot in media queries and things when we start getting into even more deeper responsive design. Now we're like, well, let's make them a little bit separate just so it looks kind of cool, right? So we're going to do a border bottom, one of my favorite properties. It just makes me laugh inside my head. So all the time, borders are always like 3 properties, or just defaults. So 3 pixels, solid, okay, or dash, whatever. The width of it, what type, and then the color. And if you don't notice, like, I didn't put a color in here, so it defaulted. But I think this is the same color. Let's see. Solid. Okay, it puts a nice, like, super dark gray that some people won't even be able to see, to be real honest. Cool. All right, so this is interesting. The border of the last field set looks weird. like weird border and then submit. So we can use pseudo classes. I love pseudo classes. So we basically, there's a bunch of different pseudo classes we can use. Now, this is the last type of. So we're declaring the paragraph element selector, and then it's like, okay, the last type of it, no border bottom. Okay, so check it. So we can just copy this, paste it in here. You could do like first of type. You could do like nth of type, and it's like where you skip the first one and then the second one has it. There's all sorts of fun stuff. So now here, border bottom. You guys should say it out loud the way that I say it out loud. Maybe it would be as funny as you. Okay. Just did that, yo. Sorry. You can use, okay. Maybe it was a space, you guys. Oh, field set. Oh, guys, I'm so sorry. That will select the paragraph. We need to select the field set. Yeah, because we don't have paragraphs. You have field sets. Field set. So the last field set, no border bottom. Oh, there it is. Right? So we still have the border bottoms up here. Looking great. So it would be nicer to have the label text exactly appear above the form. Especially because when you start getting here, it gets all weird and it's like over here email is different than the other ones. So for consistency, let's do it like that. So we're gonna do the input. Oops. We're gonna select all of them. Text area and select. And we're gonna make them take up the full width. Okay, so we're gonna say width 100%. Boom, look at that. Wonderful. And then we're also going to add a 10 pixel. Also add a 10 pixel margin to the top. So margin, top, not as cool as border bottom. Okay. And then other margin. Okay, hold on. Let's just do this. Top, 0, 0, 0. Okay, there we go. Margin. No. Sorry. Boom. Margin. Top, right, left, bottom. Okay, looking good. Obviously, there's some issues here. We're going to have to like get rid of that. What's cool is like we can do this like lump of CSS for like all of these elements. We want the input, the text area, the select. We want all of it to be like this. But then we're going to fix probably the select, right? And we'll fix it. Yeah, so let's get to that. But we don't have to like get rid of it here. We could just fix it by doing coding another element selector. Okay, so for the second field set, okay, down here, you want the input and label text to appear on the same line. Okay, so I was saying select, my bad. That's what I meant. Input, label on the same line. So start by giving the input elements on the second field set a class of inline. Dun, 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 dun. So it's the nth. Why isn't it telling us that? Oh my gosh. Okay. Input elements. Oh, a class. Oh gosh, you guys. That was so confusing. Okay, so start by giving the input elements in the second field set. So to only get these inputs, we're going to use a class, okay? Instead of, obviously, these all have inputs too, right? And we just style the inputs. So in order to fix the style of the inputs, they're going to have a class. Okay, so we have these label. We want to do it in the input elements. So now they have an ID, they have a class equals inline. And inline, inline, great. Cool, okay, so now we're gonna do the inline. And we're gonna do a width of unset. So we're unsetting the width, okay? And instead of none, it's unset. Because we had set it, now it's unset. So we're getting rid of that width. There we go, that looks way better. Awesome. Add some space between the inline elements and the label text by giving a right margin of 0.5. Also set all other margin to 0. Okay, so margin. So it's right margin. So top is 0, right is 0.5 em, 0, 0. Top right, bottom left. Boom. Okay, if you look closely enough, there's some serious misalignment of the vertical. Oh yeah, it's ridiculous. Oh, see, that would drive me crazy. If I recognized it, if I didn't recognize it, it'd be okay. But then, like, you know, if I like publish this page and then I look back at it months later, I'm like, oh no, what did I do? So because we have the block set as inline, or the display block, we actually have the ability to vertical align. Vertical alignment is often ridiculously hard. No, it didn't work. We are going to have to change the display. It is, yeah, no, it's like, did it actually work? I have no idea. It didn't look like it did anything, does it? Whatever. To make the input and the text elements blend. Okay, so we're going to mellow out the input and text area elements blend in with the background theme. Set the background color to that, and then a solid border. Okay, input, text, area. We're going to have a background color. Making it so it like looks right, you know, nice gray color. Is that what it is? Oh, it's black. Dang, okay, it's extra. Oh, I'm gonna have to fix that. I don't know about that. And then yeah, okay, I see. But then you've got this. Not loving it right now, but we'll see what they're gonna do next. Border 1px solid, and then the same. Okay, so the border, by giving it that solid border, it got rid of the other weird border that was by default there. Okay, currently, if you type into the input, you're not going to be able to see the text because because it's black. So we're going to fix it by setting the color of FFF. So the color of the text inside, so us setting that color is going to make it so that when the user types, it's going to be that same color. You could do FFF instead of all of the F's as shorthand. We're going to do that. And then min height to 2em. It makes it look better. It's double. Okay, now, oh, that's fine. Let's try this one. So it looks better. If it didn't have 2em, it was going to look tacky. It would look just like it was too scrunched. Oops. So we want the select, but now it's not getting the same min height as the input. So we're going to keep it white because that's like traditional, but we want it to have the same. Okay, so now, okay, move the min height property and value so that all three element types have the same. Min height You want select, input, text area. Select. Oh, here. Min height. We're going to move this. Oh, okay. So cut it. Notice we've got it twice. Input text area, select. All of those have that. And we're like, well, we wanted all three. So then we can put it there. So this is how we can look at our style sheet. And we can, oh, okay, this needs to be the same. And it's like keeping your code clean. You don't want to have it in, you don't want to like just copy and paste it again, like the min height in two places. You want to have it just in one place. So to style the submit button, we can use the attribute selector. Look at how nice this is looking. It's great. You're going to do a registration form. You should definitely be looking back at this, or a survey form. You should be looking back at this. The above, okay, so this sets the input name. Okay, equals password. The above selects input elements with a name attribute value of password. So now we're going to use the attribute selector to style the submit button with a, okay, so name, first of all, my submit button. I submit. My submit button doesn't have a name. So you do type submit, input, type submit. Oh, okay, let's do that. Input. Type submit. Display. Block. Let's see. Okay, nothing's changed yet. There we go. Oops, that's wrong. 60, well, come on. 60%. Ah, cool. Okay, it worked. So you guys, honestly, I'll just be real honest. This is one of the first times I've ever seen this. So you can select by the attribute. That's interesting. It's very JavaScript. We select via the ID and yeah, names and classes and things like that. With a display of block, the submit button sits flush against the left edge of its parents. Okay, guys, another thing. Why is this type of attribute of being able to use this selector so important? What if you don't have access to the actual HTML page to edit? Notice that we've been doing a lot of editing the HTML. We've added IDs, classes. Well, if we maybe are only responsible for CSS, we might be constricted, right? And so we might just be able to use CSS and call it by the attribute type. So that's pretty interesting. Let's keep going. So the submit button sits flush against the left edge of its parents using, so we're going to center this. So it goes margin auto 0. Okay, margin auto 0. It didn't work. Auto is top bottom. Oh, okay. 0 auto. That makes more sense. There we go. Because the first one's top bottom, second one's right left, and right left is how you center. It's horizontal, right? Right left. Yay! Done, done, done. We're so close to being done, guys. Yay. All right, so step 58. Goodness. 58 steps, 61 lines of CSS. How many lines of 44 lines of HTML, yay. Most of the time your CSS will be way longer than your HTML. So we're gonna make it look more in line, okay? It's kind of down there too. Okay, so we wanna make it just look like it's supposed to be what it is. I mean, it belongs on our page. So we're gonna give it the same height as the other fields, 2em, and we're gonna increase the font size, which makes sense, 1.1 rem. So it's saying 110% of the font size. The selected font size. That makes sense. Have the submit button a little bigger. That makes more sense because you want somebody to be able to see it really well. And then we're going to do a background color of, okay, we're going to do this. Replace the of with, colon. Okay. And then we got border color, white. Okay, great. There we go. Very nice, very nice. Okay, lastly, the submit button, we want to separate it. Okay, so we never want its width to be below 300 pixels, so we never want it to be right. It's going off the page when we do that. So let's make sure that it has min width. 300 pixels, right? We're going to change the margin property to include 1em on the top and bottom, leaving its, okay. So 1em, margin. Okay, so we're just going to change this to 1em. Still really far away. I don't like it, but whatever. Okay. I think the submit button is too far from the bottom, but whatever. Most browsers inject their own default CSS. True. Every browser has a style sheet, and you can look it up on the internet. If you look closely, you might be able to notice that the file input, the file input is smaller, or this, let's see, the file input is smaller than the other text inputs. Okay. By default, a padding of 1 pixel, 2 pixels is given to any input elements you can type in. Using another attribute selector, style the input with the type file. Okay. Input. Okay. Type equals file. Okay, selector. Input type file. File selector. Wait, did I do that right, you guys? Let's see. Yes, great. Okay, and then what's it gonna be? Same padding as the other input elements. Okay, where are the other input elements? Padding. Is it just me, or is there no padding? Input, type of file, padding as the other input. So input, margin, it says padding. I feel like it's wrong. I feel like it's actually trying to tell me margin. Or this input? Oh, jeez. You guys, I was overcomplicating the crap out of that. It's actually telling me, okay, since everything else has the padding of 1 pixel, 2 pixel, then I should give this one 1 pixel, 2 pixel. Jeez. Okay, got it. All right. You can barely tell, but it is bigger. Okay. Great. Speaking of padding, so the submit button is sitting at the bottom of the form element. Add a 2EM padding only to the bottom of the form. Yeah, you can't scroll down any further. That's, yeah, so padding bottom, another good one. Not quite as good as border bottom, but that's okay. Padding bottom is 2EM. Now, there we go. We have some space. Last but not least, change the text color of the terms and conditions. Link. Okay, the link. So, a link is color. You guys remember this one? Yes. Okay, so if it's the final part of the registration form, okay, good. So check it. Oh, I don't have to have it link. Sorry. Okay. How about now? Is that good? Yay. Okay, so before I submit, because it says I've completed the final part, okay, so I've actually done everything, which is yay. So now I have a completed index.html file. I have a completed CSS style sheet file. So I can go in here, and if I click somewhere in somewhere in my HTML, I don't care about the head or anything, okay? Because CodePen doesn't. We're gonna put all this in CodePen. So I'm gonna go all the way down. I'm just gonna go to the end of the form here. I don't need the ending body tag. If I forget that, meh, it's not that big of a deal. I'm gonna go to CodePen, and I'm gonna open a new pen, and then right here, no, I'm not going pro right now. In my HTML, I thought I was pro, honestly, so I don't know why it keeps asking me these things. There's my HTML without the CSS. So ugly, right? Okay, and then next, oh, guys, you can see I was talking to ChatGPT about viewport height. My cheating. Okay, and then next, I'm going to close this. And the styles is a little different just because we don't have this last 3. So you got to go up here, get that, put it in the CSS. And then finally, ooh, yeah, looking good. And finally, the last little part that we did was made the link a better color. So we'll just take that, paste it into here, bottom, and then looking good. I accept the terms and conditions. We have a lovely registration form. Okay, so you guys should be ready for the survey form certification. And if you want more about colors, we do have another exercise. The color, a whole world of color. We could have an entire class on color theory and CSS colors and everything like that. We're going to have another practice on using linear gradients. A linear gradient on here would be pretty awesome. So you could always look up linear gradient generator. It's an awesome cheat if you want to do some fun stuff. Please reach out if you need any assistance, and I'll see you soon.